Hello everyone and welcome back to MLB Power Rankings. This is the second week. This time there are more games, and with it, being more games than there were last week, the movements are pretty drastic. Yeah, and the movements should be less and less drastic as the year goes on because you get bigger and bigger playing sample. Each week will have less and less of an effect. And so here we go. This is the power rankings for April 12th, 2021. The rules, they're sorted by their offense and defense, and their offense and defense is ranked by runs scored and runs allowed. Then if there's a tie, they get ranked by their record, because obviously the one with the better record is the better team at that point. And then they get tied by if they're tied, they go by their run differential, and if that's tied, the current win streak or losing streak. Down in last place now, a dramatic fall, are the Detroit Tigers. They're 26th in runs scored with only 29, and they're 28th in runs allowed, allowing a whopping 54. So that gives them 59 points with the 3-6 record. A 3-3-3 record. Their record dropped from last week. There are a few teams that actually had the same exact record as last week, but with the record dropping from last week, the Tigers are in 30th, so the Athletics are no longer in last, even though they had the worst start, worst series opener. They haven't had the worst season so far, but they do have one of the worst records. They have a worse record than what the Tigers have, at least. They did move up one place, only one place. Though they did win the last 2 games, and they did win one against the Dodgers, and they're still playing against pretty good teams, so it's not like that they're playing awful teams. So I do expect them to move up as, they play worse and worse teams. They just happen to run into 2 of the best teams of the year to start off the season. They haven't had a single break yet either. 32 runs scored for 24th, and the worst defense, again, running into 2 of the best offenses, will give you like one of the worst defenses, allowing 30 runs, but they did pretty well the last 2 games. When it came to keeping the Astros from scoring. 54 points, a 3-7 record, 300. Their record actually went up because, when you go from winless to actually winning games, yeah, your record kind of goes up. And so with that, the A's are in 29th. And then you have the Rangers who fall, and I love that because, I'm not a big fan of the Rangers. They are 21st in runs scored, 24th in runs allowed. Their offense has fallen off, but their defense has gotten a little bit better as when you compare them to the rest of the league. That gives them 45 points, which is even worse than before. And then a 3-6 record, and they're one of the teams that actually has the same exact record as they did to finish off the year, to start off the year. And so their record actually hasn't changed at all. But they haven't really been doing much better. And as you saw, they've really been doing worse when you compare them to the rest of the league. And the Rangers just aren't a very good team. And I'm okay with them being a bad team. Just like I'm okay with the A's struggles. I do expect them to be doing a lot better, but because the A's are probably going to be the team that's going to challenge the Astros, even though right now it is the Angels. It's going to end up being the A's who challenge the Astros, and honestly, I don't mind if they actually do end up struggling. If they do end up struggling and they make me wrong, I'm happy, because I'm not a big fan of the A's, and I'm definitely not a big fan of the A's fans. I'd rather the A's be the worst team over the Rangers this year, which says a lot. And then the Pirates Oh, a shocker. The Pirates, one of the worst teams? Yeah, they're ranked 27th. They've allowed 34 runs. They've scored 34 runs. They've allowed 49 runs. They have a 3-6 record. Yeah, nothing really wrong with this list so far. As people may be questioning placements, but again, I'm not going based off the teams that they went up against. Because if I did, the A's would be a lot better. I'm going based on how they've been playing on the field. Because, once you go based off the teams they went off played against, then you start to put the opinion factor in, and I'm trying to keep this as unbiased as possible when I come to the ranking. Now when I come to judging the teams, because there are teams I don't like, there are teams I like. But the Pirates, yeah, one of the worst teams. Not a shocker. I'm pretty sure this is on everyone's list. Then you got the Cubs. They've scored 26 runs. They've allowed 37. A 4-5 record. They have more than 3 wins. I know. Wow. Another team that's not doing that well. Almost average when it comes to the record. Because, one win away from 500. If they keep that up as the season goes on, where they say about 1 win away from 500, then they should be moving up in their rankings. But we will see. They're doing pretty average, it looks like, when it comes to their offense. Again, ranked 16th. It's their defense that seems to be their defense is the one that's ranked almost average, ranked 16th. It's their offense that seems to be giving them the most trouble, ranked 27th. So we'll see exactly how things progress. And then you got the Tampa Bay Rays, who seem to be a lot different than whenever we played them last year. At least when it comes to the comparative. They have a really, really great offense. Their offense really wasn't the best last year. They had one good batter, but then the bats did light up against us towards the end of the year. Not towards the end. And the final series against us right before the World Series, though they didn't really stay hot enough for the Dodgers. But their defense, again, something that didn't stay hot enough for the Dodgers, was amazing against us. Not just their pitching, but their defense as a whole. They were diving catches. There were a lot of unreal plays where the Astros were getting hits and they weren't striking out very much, but the people on the field were preventing all kinds of runs and getting all kinds of outs that aren't exactly easy. But this year, their offense is ranked 11th, one of the better offenses, and their defense is 29th, one of the worst offenses. So it's kind of almost flipped. 40 points, 4-5 record. So it's not exactly the same team last year. As for right now, again, this is still the very beginning of the year. It could change. We will see. And then the Mariners, a 5-4 record. Yes, the Mariners have a winning record right now. Remember, they did have a winning record, and they started off the season with one of the best starts in 2019. But I don't see, just like in 2019, where they ended up becoming one of the middle teams, one of the lower teams, middle to lower. Not really a good team at the end of the year. It's probably going to be the same thing here. They're going to end up start the season with a winning record, end the season with a losing record. And as you can see, their record's already going down from last week. Yep, they have the 11th best offense, but 25th ranked defense. And I expect both of them to start to drop. And then you got the Washington Nationals, who actually have pretty good pitching, it looks like. But again, they played a little bit less teams than most other. Only 6. And then they have one of the worst offenses, but again, they've played less games, so this could change. But at the same time, they only have a 1-5 record, a 167. As they go and they catch up with the rest of the league, to where it's more like around the same, it's we'll see exactly where they rank. It's kind of hard to put them the way I do it because again they've played less games. But yeah, they aren't having a too hot of a start as it made 1-5 record right now, only one win. And then you got the Marlins, a 2-6 record, a 2-win team, so they're not doing too hot either. 28th in runs scored, only 24, but 6th in runs allowed, allowing only 32. So if that offense would light up a little bit, then they'd be doing a whole lot better. And then you got the Arizona Diamondbacks, the opposite problem, as you can see. 9th in runs scored, 25th in runs allowed. So if that defense could prevent more runs, then they'd be okay. And this is the team that the Astros got Greinke from. So we'll see exactly how well they are if towards the end. This doesn't seem like a team that I expect to be anything in the playoffs at all or anything, so it doesn't matter. 4-6 record right now. Also, I don't expect them to be one of the worst teams. We'll see. Baltimore Orioles, who for a little while actually was leading their division. But again, that's what happens when you just start and you're only a few games into 162 season game. So they still are over average when it comes to scoring and below average when it comes to giving up runs. And here they are, ranked 20th. You got the Angels, ranked 19th. Oh, here's a shocker if you know anything about the Angels. They are top 10 in runs scored, but bottom 10 in runs allowed. Who would have thought? Oh, wait. Literally everyone. But they do have a winning record and they're tied with the Astros. So why are they so low? Well, because again, it's just that defense is just so bad that it brings them down. They end up with a total of 34 points because of that terrible defense, the terrible pitching staff. If they get a better pitching staff, then they might be ranked higher. Is it possible that they make the playoffs? Possibly. Is it possible they win the World Series? I mean, there's always a chance, but I don't see it happening anytime soon, especially if the defense keeps up giving up more runs than they're scoring. As good as that offense is, and the fact that they have a winning record, they've still only scored 48 to allowing 54. Now you got the Mets, who only have played 5 games, so they're kind of hard to rank over here. They're 2 of 3. They've got 2 wins. Only 5 games played, it makes sense that they're 30th in runs scored because they've only played 5 games, the fewest of all the teams, so they haven't really had a chance to show exactly how good they are. And then also because they haven't played very many games, they haven't let up enough runs to be ranked anywhere, so they're first in runs allowed. Yeah, this is kind of a meaningless thing, so we'll just move on from here because again they aren't even close to the rest of the league when it comes to games right now. Then you got the Phillies at 38 runs scored, 35 runs allowed. Their offense is getting better. Their defense is falling down. They are 6-3. The Phillies, we'll see exactly how they are. I still don't see them winning a World Series anytime soon with Bryce Harper, but they do have a winning record. They do have a 6-3 record, which is a pretty good record, and we'll see exactly how they do throughout the season. Right now, they're kind of around average in both offense and defense, which, if they stay that way, they definitely aren't winning anything this year. And then you got the Colorado Rockies. They're 7th in runs scored and 23rd in runs allowed. 30 points, a 3-7 record. Yes, another 3-win team. This is a weird list. There's going to be a little bit weird placement because, again, we're still early on in the season. Let's see exactly where teams in. Again, just because you start here doesn't mean that's where you're going to finish, because there's only a few games in. There's a few blowout games that could, affect this, but as you go into 162 games, the blowout games have less of effect unless every single game is a blowout game. Then it's going to be weird and janky. Here, exactly in the middle, you got the Cardinals, a 5-4 record, 10th in runs scored, 20th in runs allowed. They moved up a little bit in the power ranking to be exactly average. Being around 500, literally one game away from 500. If you lose tomorrow or today, whenever they play, they're going to be at 500. And then you got the Royals, another team, one game away from 500. 19th in runs scored, 11th in runs allowed, 30 points. Yada yada. A team that I don't expect to do much this year. Not to do extremely well, but not to do horrible. Just, there. And then you got the San Francisco Giants, who expect their offense to start to be a lot higher towards the end of the year than they actually are. And I expect their defense to actually be lower towards the end of the year. But right now, their offense is actually ranked 4th in runs allowed. And their offense is actually ranked 25th in runs scored. And the defense is 4th in runs allowed. So that's a pretty good defense, and they do have a 6-3 record. We will see exactly how good this team continues to be. So this team is actually doing pretty well to start off the season. Not the best first series, but a pretty good week right afterwards. Then we got the Atlanta Braves at 12th. We're getting close to the top 10 here. They are 21st in runs scored, 7th in runs allowed. A 4-5 record. Yes, I know, like I said, blowout games kind of affect things more early on in the season than they do later in the season. Things will average out, but yes, you have the Braves doing a little bit better because they actually, despite having a losing record, they have scored more runs than they've allowed. 21st, and again 7th in runs allowed. So pretty good defense and a better offense than the Giants. Then you got the White Sox, a really good offense, and then a pretty good defense, or really almost average as of May so far. And this is just so far based on how they are. They are 6th in runs scored, so a good offense to start off the season. And then they are 17th in runs allowed. So that is about like a little bit below average. Then you got 23 points, a 4-5 record, a plus 11 run differential. Why am I saying that at the last part? Because they are tied in record and in points with the Yankees. So actually the White Sox should be over. So the Yankees are 11th, the White Sox are 10th. The Yankees are 16th in runs scored and 7th in runs allowed. 23 points, a 4-5 record, but only a plus 5 run differential. So yeah, the Yankees are 11th and the White Sox are 10th. It's the other way around. The Yankees have not had the best start, but they are a good team, and they are a historically good team as well. So it's not like, they are historically bad or an historically average team. They have precedent. So I do think they will bounce back. I do think they will maybe win division. If not, at least make the playoffs. Then you got the Brewers, who are a 5-4. They're 16th in runs scored and 7th in runs allowed, 23 points. They do have a winning record. I feel like this team's going to be falling down as season goes on, though. Then you got the Toronto Blue Jays, a 4-5 record. 11th in runs scored, 11th in runs allowed. just outside the top 10 in both of those, yet they have a 4-5 record. Like I said, I look at their offense and their defense, and I rank them that way. So that's how we rank the teams. If you don't like them, then oh well, I guess. There are other people who do power rankings. If these are just mine, this gives you an idea on how well they're doing in offense and in defense. But you know, and you should be able to like figure out blowout games from that as well, if they're winning blowout games or if they're winning the close ones. And then you got the Indians. They are first in runs allowed, 22nd, but 19th in runs scored, a 5-3 record, so a pretty good record to start the season. And then 625, 7th. They are in the top 10. They have a pretty good record. They're doing pretty well on preventing runs. And you got the Boston Red Sox, another 6-3 team. They have the second best offense right now, second in runs scored, 18th in defense, bottom half. But a plus 15 run differential, so yeah, a 6-3 record. Why plus 15? Well, because the Reds have plus 20 run differential with a 6-3 record. Yes, the Reds are doing really well to start off the season. They've been pretty close to being good for a very long time because they've had only like a few missing pieces for the past couple of years. They are first in runs scored, 19th in runs allowed, and yes, they have a 6-3 record. So they have one of the best records out of all the teams. We'll see if they can keep this up, or maybe if they'll continue to lose all the close ones and only win blowout games. We'll see, because that was what they did a couple years ago, and I think last year as well, where they were like a lot higher than they probably should have been record-wise because of the whole winning blowout games but losing all the close ones. And you got the San Diego Padres. People saying the San Diego Padres from last year or in the year before, but they're average in scoring right now, 39, ranked 15th, but they have a really good defense. That's giving them the 7-3 record, only allowing 23 runs, which is third. 18 points. There we go. And then you got the Minnesota Twins, 5th in runs scored, pretty good, and 11th in runs allowed, just outside the top 10, but a 5-4 record. Again, with only so few games played, they have a 5-4 record, so they're going to be they're above teams with better record than them. That's going to happen, and that's going to happen later too, because there's going to be better teams that just have. And just because you win more games doesn't always mean you're the better team, and not always. The 2017 year, it was not the best record that won the World Series. The 2019 year wasn't the best team that won the World Series. It wasn't the best record that won the World Series, I should say. And so on and so forth. It was whoever was the better team at that time. And it's not always the team with the better record. And second, you got the Dodgers. Yes, I see the Dodgers moving up all the way to first because they are probably the most stacked team. So I do see them moving all the way up to first. They have the third best offense, scoring 57 runs. I expect this to move up towards first, even closer and closer, because again, they are stacked. And then they're 11th in runs allowed. So really only just outside the top 10. They should be in the top 10, but they're not. 14 points and 8-2 record, the best record as of right now. Now the Dodgers have the best record, not the Astros, the Dodgers. But the Dodgers are still, as of right now, the slightly better team. Why? Because they're, even though they're 6-3, they're just one below the Dodgers when it comes to the offense. Dodgers are third, the Astros are fourth. but they have a pretty more significant offense right now than the Dodgers. Dodgers, again, 11th, and the Astros 7th when it comes to runs allowed. So despite having the worst record, they are the slightly better team as of right now, but I don't expect that to stay. Like I said, I don't expect the Astros to stay first throughout the year, but I do expect the Astros to stay within the top 10. And so, not the top 10, top 3. I think the Astros are going to stay within the top 3 teams. Not exactly first, not exactly second, but I do think they'll be around third. Maybe second and first if they continue to be, the best team. So as of, again, this week, they are still the best team. And no, this is not me just saying they're the best team just because I'm an Astros fan. This is their offense ranked and their defense ranked. The thing that I've been doing the past few years now to rank teams. The Astros are just the best offensively and defensively team right now when you take them both and you combine them. They just had a rough couple of games to end out the week, but they're going up against the Tigers and then a few other easier teams for them. And I don't mean easier because, they're worse teams. What I mean by easier is they're not division rivals. They started out the year against only division rivals, but they started out really, really strong against the division rivals, as you can see. And we'll see exactly how well the Astros continue to be throughout the year. I hope they stay good. I hope they stay healthy. And I'll see y'all next week.